You ever have one of those days where it feels like the universe finally throws you a bone then immediately snatches it back just to see how you'll react? That was me, Maya Rodriguez, standing in the shadow of a roaring Black Hawk, grease still fresh on my hands, when the email landed that changed everything. Congratulations, Maya. Your application has been approved. Yeah, I nearly dropped my wrench. 2 years of watching everyone else fly the birds I kept alive, always the one in coveralls, never the one in the pilot's seat. Now, after years of dreaming and every overtime shift I could grab, my shot had finally come. You know what I mean? Feels like destiny's tapping your shoulder, just to see if you'll turn around. I scrolled through the acceptance email Skyline Flight Academy, accelerated pilot program, tuition help for vets like I'd somehow read it wrong. But no, it was real. I was in. The weekend before class, I drove out to Cooper Municipal to get a feel for the place. It was nothing fancy, just a rundown hangar, cracked runway, prairie grass waving all the way to the horizon, and 3 battered choppers out front, each one with more stories than I'd at birthdays. There was a student doing practice runs, cautious and stiff, overcorrecting just enough to make my mechanic brain itch. I must have looked out of place, because suddenly this guy in his 50s thick arms, gray hair cut high and tight, inked with Marine Corps history appeared at my elbow. You thinking about joining the circus? He asked, half smirk, half challenge. I squared up. Just looking around. He stuck out a hand. Robert Williams. Folks call me Tank. I'm the chief instructor. I shook his hand, tried to look more confident than I felt. Maya Rodriguez. I start classes Monday. His eyes narrowed, and I knew right then he'd done his homework. Rodriguez, you're the mechanic from Peterson, right? That's me. He gave me a look like he was already betting on how soon I'd quit. Well, hope you're ready. Flying isn't wrench turning. It's a whole other world. Yeah, I got that a lot. And let me tell you, it never stopped stinging. But I learned by then to let my actions do the talking. Monday, I showed up early, notebook in hand, trying to look like I belonged. The other students rolled in, mostly rich kids, headsets that cost more than my car, swapping stories about skydiving in Belize or whatever. 8 on the dot, Tank strode in, big as life. Listen up, maggots. Half of you will wash out by next month, the rest when you realize this ain't Xbox. Then he zeroed in on me. Some of you are here 'cause you think fixing choppers means you can fly em. Step forward, Rodriguez. I did art pounding, face burning as every eye in the hangar drilled holes through me. Tank grilled me about my time at Peterson, my mechanic background, then announced to everyone, fixing them and flying the 2 different worlds. We'll see if you've got what it takes. Let me back up a sec. That's when I knew I'd been tagged the class scapegoat. The one to be tested, poked, and let's be real targeted. Tank made it his personal mission to prove I didn't belong. Subtle stuff at first. Me assigned helicopter always just happened to need extra checks. Ground school quizzes designed to trip me up. Whenever I aced something, he'd shrug it off. Book learning ain't flying. I kept my head down. Jennifer Walshaw, navigation instructor, sharp, quiet, tough, was the only one who seemed to get it. She'd catch me after class, say things like, "Don't let him get under your skin. He's threatened by people who don't fit his mold." She told me if I ever wanted to file a complaint, she'd back me up. But you learn quick in the military. Sometimes, making waves just sinks your boat faster. Better to outfly, outwork, and outlast. The pressure built, though, especially during my solo evaluation. Tank scheduled me for the worst weather, crosswinds, low vis, full stress test. He never stopped barking in my headset. Sloppy approach, Rodriguez. Real pilots don't get blown around. But I got through every maneuver. Jennifer pulled me aside after, handed me printouts from the tower. You flew a perfect pattern. Tank's notes don't match the data. That's when it hit me. Was falsifying my performance. And suddenly, I wasn't just fighting for myself. I was fighting for every mechanic, every outsider who'd been told, not your place. With Jennifer's help, I started documenting everything. Every random maintenance issue, every biased evaluation, every off-the-record remark. We built a case, waiting for Tank to cross the line the FAA couldn't ignore. He didn't disappoint. My final check ride was set up for disaster bad weather, the oldest chopper, known quirks. I flagged real issues with the aircraft. Tank sneered, called me scared. If I bailed, I was out for good. If I flew and failed, same result. So I documented every fault, took the ride, and sure enough, mid-flight, The engine sputtered. Examiner Burton said, "Minor issue, keep flying." But I knew it was going south. I called out each failure, set up emergency landing sites, kept Burton looped in, and when the engine finally died, I brought us down in a farmer's field textbook. Safe, no one hurt. Burton, white-knuckled but grinning, told me, "Best flying I've ever seen under pressure." His report, plus the logs, was all we needed. That emergency landing hit the local news. Suddenly, Tank's campaign flipped on its head as efforts to sabotage me turned me into the hero and triggered a full-blown FAA investigation. The whole academy held its breath. Tank, ever the actor, tried to turn it into a witch hunt, called me a diversity hire, said I was out to ruin him for political points. But the evidence was too much. Jennifer's files, Burton's testimony, maintenance records, even audio clips, each one another nail in the coffin of Tank's old-school ways. During the hearing, he denied everything, even with his own voice on tape. Claimed it was about aviation standards, that women and minorities just couldn't handle the job. But there's a special kind of justice in watching someone get hoisted by their own petard, you know? The FAA revoked every certification he had, yanked him out of the academy and the U.S. Attorney filed charges for federal fraud. He got 18 months in prison and a lifetime ban from instruction. Skyline Flight Academy rebuilt from the ground up. Jennifer took over as chief instructor, and applications from women and minority students shot through the roof. For once, Merit Connections decided who got a seat in the cockpit. But the best moment didn't come with Tank's fall. It came a year later, flying medevac out of Denver, snow coming down in sheets, with a teenager's life in my hands. I made it through, landed safe, and as the radio crackled with praise, I remembered my uncle's words, "Flying isn't about showing off, mija. It's about being where you're needed most." A week later, I got 2 letters. One was from Tank, fresh out of prison, blaming political correctness for his downfall. The other was from a girl named Jessica Torres, newly accepted to Skyline, thanking me for proving that skill and hard-knot background opened the sky for everyone. That's the one I kept. So tell me, where do you stand? Is justice about rules, or about courage when it counts? Was I right to fight, or should I have let the system roll on? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if stories like this matter to you, hit subscribe. Let's keep the sky open for everyone, one story at a time.